Hello, everyone, and welcome to Big Results for Small Firms, Smarter Workflows for Capacity, Growth, and Client Value. This webcast is brought to you by CPA Practice Advisor Magazine and Wolters Kluwer Tax and Accounting. I'm Gail Perry, Editor-in-Chief of CPA Practice Advisor, and I'll be your moderator today. Before we get started, I'd like to explain how CPE for this webcast works. The webcast will last no longer than 1 hour, and it qualifies for 1 credit of continuing professional education. If you plan to earn CPE for attending this session, you must stay with us for a minimum of 50 minutes. In addition, we'll display 4 polling questions during the webcast. You'll need to record an answer for at least 3 of the polling questions, as this is our verification that you are still watching. Later today, you'll receive an email from CPA Practice Advisor containing a link to your CPE certificate, assuming you met the qualifications for certification. Just one bit of clarification: when you registered, you were asked to provide a PTIN number if you needed CE credit from the IRS. That was a mistake. This webinar actually does not qualify for CE credit, so we apologize for the confusion on that. Please note that we can give CPE credit for multiple people at the same location. So if there are others in your office who would like to attend this event at the same computer, please have them join you now. At any time, you can enter questions in the Ask a Question box provided on your screen, and our speaker will try to get to as many questions as possible during the presentation. Questions not answered during the broadcast will be addressed by the speaker afterwards by email. If you have any difficulty answering your polling questions online, you can always post your answers to the polling questions in this Ask a Question box, and we'll record them there. The slides for this presentation are available for download. You can find them by clicking the Event Resources option on your screen. There you can click on a PDF file which contains the slides. Today, we are joined by Stephanie Plaza, Associate Director of Product Management at Wolters Kluwer Tax and Accounting North America. Stephanie will be presenting this webcast. We also want to mention we're grateful to Wolters Kluwer Tax and Accounting today for making this event possible and for enabling us to offer a free CPE credit to our attendees. And now, Stephanie, we're ready to begin.
Great. Thank you so much, Gail. So today is about practical ways to make your workflow work harder for you and your firm, so you can get through the year end with less stress and more confidence. We'll talk about freeing up capacity without, adding additional stress to your firm, and also without adding headcount, and delivering more value to your clients. We'll also touch on how AI impacts workflow and all of the efficiency gains you can get from AI. AI is such a hot topic these days. It would be remiss of us, not to include that in this webinar. And I think you'll be really enlightened by the information we have to share today. By the end of this webinar, you're going to have a short list of things that you can do right now to make tax season smoother and to set yourself up for growth and success in the future. Gail introduced me. My name is Stephanie Plaza, and I am the Associate Director of Product Management at Wolters Kluwer Tax and Accounting. I have been with Wolters Kluwer for over 10 years now. I have been in tax product management for all of those 10 years in various different positions within product management and for various different products in our portfolio. But one thing does not change and stays the same for me, and that is the customer obsession that I have specifically for our small firms. I have been focused on small firms for most of my career, and I love talking to small firms. I love understanding the issues that you face day to day and how we can help you and build our products that will set you up for success in the future. So before we jump in, we are going to kick off with a polling question. So Gail?
Okay, this is our first polling question, and it is, what's your biggest challenge? And the options are managing capacity, meeting client expectations, adapting to technology, handling pricing pressures, or staying up to date on tax legislation. So we don't have an all of the above option, so just pick the one that is most closely aligned with the thing that, keeps you up at night. And then just click the submit button when you have entered your choice.
And it can be difficult to pick just one, right? I know that we all face multiple challenges within our firms.
Right.
I am seeing some of the early results coming in here, and so far, adapting to technology is really leading these challenges. And I'd have to say, not surprising for me to hear that. Maybe surprising for you on the phone or on the webinar. Really kind of understanding that it is an issue that is industry-wide and not even just specific to small firms, right? Technology. The speed of technology is just continuing to get faster and faster every year, and it really can seem like this insurmountable task to be able to figure out how to adopt that technology, when to adopt the technology, and what types of technology you should be implementing in your firm. And hopefully today's webinar is going to help you answer some of those questions.
Okay, and you guys should all see the results now on your screen. So Stephanie, I think we can go ahead and continue.
Awesome, thank you. So year end is an amplifier, and I want to thank all of you for being on this call today. We are 15, 16 days out to the extension deadline, and so this is year end for everyone, right? It's not that spring filing deadline that we talk about. But this time of year, you're going to see that every small inefficiency becomes a bigger problem when these deadlines compress on you. So why does it always feel like it's breaking down, right? Manual steps really multiply rework. So every manual step you have in your office is causing you or some of your colleagues or even some of the people that work for you to do things kind of over and over. We also see that the bottlenecks are really starting to stall progress and drag down that productivity. A lot of times these bottlenecks are kind of glossed over during busy periods, but they really end up adding a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of labor to your practice. And then lastly, the clients, right? In this day and age, they really expect speed and transparency, especially now that they're used to these digital experiences everywhere else. So what does this mean for you? What does this mean for your firm? It stresses out your team, right? It erodes margins, unfortunately, and it really shows you all the missed opportunities that you had to deliver value to your clients. This isn't just about efficiency, it's about protecting profitability and really earning your clients' trust. So what's driving these challenges, right? Let's take a look at what small firms are facing today. Here's what we're hearing from firms that are just like yours. You're juggling a talent crunch, and you're really trying to keep your team from burning out. Deadlines are getting tighter and tighter, and legislation changes and complexity just keep on climbing. Even if you've moved to the cloud, sometimes your tools don't always talk to each other. That means that you're stuck in what we like to call swivel chair mode, right? So it's when you're at your desk and you're taking information from this screen over here and inputting it here, or you're turning around to reach behind you and grab a research book, right? All of these things like copying data and chasing statuses are really just losing you and your firm time. And then lastly, advisory, right? This is a big hot topic. I would say almost as big as AI in the tax and accounting industry right now. And what we're really seeing in these smaller firms is that it's getting squeezed out because the firms are just buried in compliance work. It's a missed opportunity for growth and a missed opportunity for client loyalty. So let's pinpoint exactly where time and profit leak away. So these leaks show up in every firm, not necessarily just small firms, right? It's everywhere. The first one is going to be chasing client documents and signatures. How many of you have spent hours emailing clients for an 8879 or missing W-2s? Every delay pushes back filing and eats into your billable time. Second is rekeying data across systems. If you're entering the same client information into your tax software, spreadsheets, and then even a portal, That's not just wasted time. Those are errors that are just waiting to happen every time you have to rekey something. Next is the manual review and post-filing follow-ups, things like reminding clients about estimated payments. Those tasks pile up during peak season, and they can really pull your team away from higher value services. And here's a really big one: manually tracking return and refund statuses. I've seen firms that quite literally dedicate hours into logging into IRS and state portals to confirm e-file acceptance or check the status of a refund. That's time that you can reclaim almost immediately with really simple things like automated dashboards. And then finally, again, these missed advisory opportunities, because insights don't surface at the time you're doing the work and when you're doing the work and where you're doing the work, most importantly. So here's just a quick example of some firms that have adopted small automations to help them. So a firm that works with Wolters Kluwer only automated intake and e-signature. Just by doing those two small things, they cut turnaround time by days, not just by hours, by actual days. Another used predictive alerts to identify clients that are impacted by new legislation, turning compliance into advisory work. You're generating your own leads while you're in the tax return and doing the work. So how does AI really fit in this kind of time and profit leak, and where can we leverage it to help ourselves? One is going to be document intelligence. It speeds up the data capture, and predictive analytics flag opportunities in real time. Unfortunately, these leaks cost more than time. They hit your bottom line. So let's take a look at the hidden cost of these inefficiencies. Inefficiency, like I said, just doesn't cost time, right? It actually costs money. Think about it like this. If you're spending an extra 15 minutes per return on admin tasks, multiply that by 200 returns. How many hours do you think that is? That's 50 hours. Just 15 minutes per return is 50 hours. That's an entire work week. What could you do with that time? Could you help more clients? Could you spend more time at home? Could you read a book or just relax and doom scroll? Sometimes we all need that. These delays will also erode client trust, right? So if you have something like a missed extension deadline because of a bottleneck or a broken workflow in your firm, that can cost you a client and lost referrals. And let's not even talk about burnout. Well, we're going to talk about burnout because it's a real thing. When you don't have enough staff and your staff is working 70 hours a week on low value tasks, they're more likely to leave, and replacing them is harder than ever. So how do we fix this? Let's start with capacity. But before we move on, we have another polling question.
Okay, this is our second polling question. How many places do you have to enter the same client data? And your answer options are just once, we're fully integrated, or once or twice, we're working on connecting our tech. The third option is multiple times, most of our tech doesn't talk to one another, or the final option, every system we have requires re-entering client data. So choose the option that is most likely the situation in your office, and then click submit.
So I'm looking at some of these early results again, and I think it's very interesting. We did a similar webinar to this last year, and then another one the year before. And it's very interesting how these questions and answers have actually changed over the past 3 or so years, right? I would say last year and even in 2023, when we would ask questions similar to this, the majority were entering this information multiple times across many different systems. We are definitely starting to see a shift to where that has decreased. But the majority is still entering it more than once, right? Which is unfortunately still a broken workflow and will still cause a lot of time and stress on your practice.
Okay, looks like we've got all the answers in. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome, thank you. So let's get back to capacity, right? Capacity challenges aren't just about headcount, even though sometimes it can feel that way. But even if you had more people, the way that work flows through your firm is really going to determine whether or not you can scale. So here are some things that we've seen. Fewer experienced staff are available. There's more complexity year round, and these kind of DIY and patchwork processes that work for 50 returns don't necessarily work at 100 returns, 200, or 500 returns. These siloed tools just don't talk to each other. You're rekeying data, chasing statuses, and losing time to context switching and that swivel chair problem that we talked about before. Without returns or real-time visibility, you don't know where these bottlenecks are until it's too late. So a real-world example, I like to kind of pepper these in during these webinars to just help you connect with firms that look like what your firm does, right? And some quick wins that smaller firms have been able to implement over the past couple of years to help them gain efficiencies. So one return that I worked with, they tracked all of their work in spreadsheets. They had a wonderful woman, her name was Donna, who created these wonderful Google Docs. It was great, it was color-coded. Some of the formulas were automated. It was great. It worked fantastic when they had about 100 returns. Now, they acquired another firm, and then all of a sudden that 100 went to 400, and they were drowning. They were drowning in email, they were drowning in paper, they were drowning in keeping up with Donna's spreadsheets and manual updates. That firm took a step back, and they really thought about their practice and what was going to work for them. Once they moved into an integrated workflow with dashboards, they cut these review loops and they gained back capacity, quite literally hundreds of hours. So how does that happen, and how do you leverage AI in situations like this? AI-driven dashboards can highlight these bottlenecks for you and suggest next actions, helping you prioritize work intelligently without having to continue to audit your workflows and let AI do that for you. So what's an alternative to some of these manual workflows? Let's compare kind of the way we used to do business to a more modern approach. So the old playbook, right? Hire more staff, add more tools, work longer hours. That unfortunately doesn't scale anymore. We can talk about each one of those points and why it doesn't scale, but I think we're all pretty comfortable, since COVID, in really understanding that we just can't hire that many people, right? It's inefficient to bring in 20 people to do the job that 5 could do or 6 could do with a more modern approach. So what is this modern approach? It's smarter. It automates things like repeatable tasks. It standardizes your workflow, and it integrates systems so that the data flows without rekeying, gaining efficiency and reducing human error. The principle here is really simple. You collect once, you classify once, and you can reuse that data everywhere. That's how you can eliminate duplicate work and reduce errors. And when you integrate, you get fewer loops, fewer logins, and faster decisions. A small firm automated just e-signature requests and cut turnaround time by 3 days. Another one standardized review checklist and reduced time to review, being able to file those returns faster. AI can enhance all of this by surfacing answers in context and predicting where these bottlenecks occur. So what can you do just this month to create capacity? Let's talk about 5 quick wins. 5 moves that can deliver the fastest relief. 5 can seem insurmountable, right? So I think later on we'll talk a little bit about maybe what 1 or 2 will work for your firm. But these are pretty simple and pretty easy to implement. The first one is to automate document requests and reminders so that you're not chasing clients. When you have automated reminders, that takes out hours of your day trying to manage that client relationship and get the source documents from your customers in time. Pre-populate returns from scanned data to reduce manual entry. So tools can bring in data from source documents and get them right into your tax compliance software. That really helps your firm in terms of being able to reduce that data entry time and also reduce errors. You can also do things like streamline pass-through work with standardized mapping, especially for K1s. K1s have been the biggest headache for firms of all sizes for many years now. And finally, technology has been able to catch up to help reduce the time it takes for your firm to import or enter data from K1s. Using things like digital checklists and dashboards to help speed review are going to help you get that tax return filed faster and move on to the next one or move on to higher value services. And eliminate status chasing with real-time updates. We don't need to go into 3 or 4 different portals or websites to get those statuses. Using things like APIs and dashboards give you all of that information in one place that's easy for you and your colleagues to locate. An example is a small firm that turned on just automated reminders for $88.79. Just one form out for signature. It cut their follow-up emails significantly, almost to zero, using a tool called Client Collaboration that allows you to automate reminders and send out organizers directly to clients without having any manual process around those once the automation is set up. Client Collaboration utilizes AI and things like document intelligence. It talks to other systems and accelerates the data capture and allows you to have these predictive alerts to help you prioritize your work. So what does this look like in practice today? So one of the case studies that we have with one of our small firms was really around just replacing email-based intake. Now, it's not a polling question, but I want you to take a second and think about how you're getting your source documents from your clients, how you're communicating with these clients, and how much time that's taking per client, right? So just think about that to yourself, and then I'm going to talk through this case study. So like I said, they replaced email-based intake with a portal, e-signatures, and automated reminders. What did that result look like? The first thing was faster turnaround time and fewer status emails, right? Where is it? I don't have this W-2. You worked for this company last year. I don't see that here. This saved 10 hours a week across the team just by implementing this one integration. That's capacity that you can reinvest into higher value work. This isn't about adding complexity. I know that, our first polling question, most of you said, I think over 50% or maybe 40% of you had said that adapting to technology was one of the things that you were most concerned about in your firm. And I don't disagree with you. But if you do it right, it doesn't add complexity and it doesn't have to be scary. It's really about removing friction within your firm and within the tools you use. When clients can upload documents securely, they can sign engagement letters digitally and see their status, you eliminate this back and forth that eats up your day, right? And I want you to think about how you use, as a consumer, technology to get your updates, right? One of the biggest examples is like the pizza tracker, or if you order on DoorDash. I'm able to open my phone when I don't cook dinner, sometimes it happens, and check the status and know exactly where my driver is, know exactly, when the restaurant's going to be done cooking the food, so I know when I can prepare my family to have dinner. I don't need to pick up and call anybody. I don't need to do anything other than use the technology that I have today. That's what consumers are looking for, right? There's another story about a small firm, and this firm was just 8 people. And they didn't have really dedicated roles. They were all kind of wearing these multiple hats, which is a lot that happens a lot in small firms. And they were all really great at what they did, but their client intake process was a mess, right? Everything came in through email, tax document, engagement letters, random questions. And I'm not even going to talk about the security of that. But one of the partners joked that their inbox was like a scavenger hunt. And every day they were using it to piece together what was missing and find clues as to what they're missing or what they might have, right? Clients would send half-completed forms. They would forget to sign things. They would reply to the wrong thread. So the staff ended up spending hours chasing these documents and clarifying what was needed. And then, of course, kind of the where is it emails, even internally, kept on piling up, right? So they made one simple change. They set up a really basic client portal, nothing fancy, with e-signature and these automated reminders. The clients now had one place to upload these documents, sign forms, and get reminders if they forget something. The impact was the turnaround time sped up significantly. The team stopped living in their email and stopped having to chase internally for documents. And the clients stopped asking for status updates because they were able to view that progress themselves, right? Their own little pizza tracker for their tax forms. So with these fewer interruptions, the staff could actually focus on doing the work. And it wasn't a massive technology overhaul, right? It was a much smaller shift that really made a big difference for them. And for a small firm, that's exactly the kind of win that matters, right? We're not expecting small firms to completely overhaul their technology and invest tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars into this software. Sometimes it's just about making small changes that fit for your firm. So let's take a second and take a step back and look at what an integrated digital tax workflow really means. When we talk about an integrated workflow, we mean more than just having tools in the cloud, right? The cloud is this magic place where everything lives. It's a big selling point. There are many benefits to the cloud, right? But it's not just about having the tools in the cloud or having your software in the cloud. Integration means connected steps from intake to advisory with automatic handoffs that reduce rekeying and eliminate this duplicate work. It means embedded answers while you work. So you're not toggling between tabs or searching for guidance in a separate system, right? You don't have to open Google to ask a question. You can do it from right within your tax software. And it means visibility across every stage. So you know exactly where each return stands. The outcome is fewer loops, faster decisions, and higher quality work. When this data flows seamlessly, you reduce errors and free up time for the higher value work. A firm that adopted an integrated workflow cut review cycles because preparers and reviewers were working from the same real-time data set. How many of you are able to do that today? No more version control headaches, no more status chasing emails. They're able to look at the data that comes in as it comes in. And AI can enhance this by surfacing these answers and opportunities in context. For example, these predictive alerts that we keep on talking about can flag any clients impacted by new legislation while you're still in the return. Embedded research powered by AI interprets natural language questions and delivers authoritative guidance instantly. Natural language questions is something that kind of trips up some of our small firms. It means that you don't have to ask the question as if you are a tax attorney, right? You can ask very simple answers and get very complex answers from AI today. So let's break this down kind of stage by stage now that we've looked at the 30,000 foot view. And I want to start with intake and data processing. Intake is really where the tone for your entire engagement with a customer is set. If you're still relying on email for document collection, you're immediately creating fiction for clients and you're creating chaos for your team. Digital engagement letters and document requests can really streamline this process. Clients can upload securely from any device, and automated reminders keep things moving without manual follow-up. Once documents arrive, tools like ProSystem Scan with AutoFlow organize them into bookmarked PDFs and extract key data into the return. That's a really important sentence there, extracting the data into the return. It means that not only can you have these documents delivered to you securely, digitally, you can use that same intake process to have technology scan the documents for you and transfer that directly into a return. So what does that mean? That means that you start a return that is sometimes 70% complete instead of staring at a blank screen and having to manually enter all of this information. Firms that use things like AutoFlow are able to reduce their preparation time and cut errors caused by manual entry, sometimes up to 90%. It is a very small tool to be able to adopt, and it's something that can really fundamentally change the way that you work within your tax software. Leveraging AI in these processes can help do things like classify files for you and flag missing items, helping further reduce that risk of delays with your customers. So after intake and the data entry, the next big opportunity that we think in streamlining your workflow is going to be in review. So let's take a look at how we can make that faster and smarter. Return preparation and review are where bottlenecks are often hit the hardest, but it doesn't have to be that way. Technology with built-in diagnostics can catch issues early, reducing that back and forth later. You know, how many times have you not gotten a diagnostic until you're in that review phase? Leveraging technology early can really help reduce that friction within your workflow. Other things like digital checklists and side-by-side comparisons help make these reviews a lot more efficient. You don't have to open a prior year return or look through the client's file. All of that information is right in front of you. And embedded research means that you can ask questions and get answers without leaving that return. I know it doesn't seem like a lot of time to move out of your tax compliance software and open another tab and use whatever research you're using. But if you think about the time that you spend doing that for each return and then multiply that, you'll be very surprised at the time savings that you can get just by using embedded research. AI also will be able to interpret this query for you and surface that guidance instantly. So you don't have to flip through a book. You don't have to scroll down through the page. Leveraging AI in that instance is going to deliver the authoritative answers to you as quickly as possible. Small changes can have a big impact. Just enabling embedded research will cut your review time instantly, just taking away that instance of toggling between systems. So once the return is ready and it's reviewed, e-filing and delivery should be really just as seamless. And sometimes we get caught up there. Actually, pretty frequently we get caught up in e-file and tax return delivery. So this is it. This is the last mile. This is the final countdown, right? We're ready to go. Everything has been delivered. The return has been reviewed. We're ready to send it off to the federal and state taxing authorities. So what is clogging up your workflow here? The first one is that your firm is likely losing time chasing those signatures and getting the status updates. How many times have you had to reach out to customers after you've sent them the finalized return? How long does it take for them to review it? How long does it take for them to sign it? Are they still coming into your office to sign it? All of those pieces are going to increase the time of that tax return to be completely off of your firm's plate. So you really want to look for tools that offer these couple things, right? The first one is real-time e-file status. Real-time e-file status can be delivered directly into a dashboard for you and your firm to review. That means that you don't have to go to the IRS website or other state taxing authorities. You can open that customer's review, you can go to the return dashboard, and you can see in real time exactly when that return was accepted, when it was acknowledged, and you can deliver that information to your clients automatically. It helps eliminate that guesswork. And then signatures. If you still have your clients coming into your office for signatures, that can add days. Digital signatures for 8879 will speed up that process. The secure delivery ensures that clients get their returns and their payment vouchers without additional risk, right? Everything is done securely through portals. So how does AI help in this situation? AI can flag anomalies in e-file status or identify clients who haven't completed signatures, prompting proactive outreach, meaning you can leverage AI to find these issues faster and before it's a real problem, maybe even before that return is e-filed, saving you from potentially having to do that return again. Nobody wants to do an amended return for something that you can utilize technology to help you fix. So our example here of a small firm is one that just enabled an e-file status sync, right? So all they did was leverage that dashboard along with digital delivery, and it reduced their post-filing follow-up calls by 80%. So leveraging technology, once again, helps you eliminate those manual processes that really eat into your firm's workflow. So now that we've covered kind of the workflow stages, let's talk about the features that matter most for small firms. When you're evaluating technology, you don't necessarily need to look at the entire technology stack to figure out what's going to make life easier for your firm. You want to dig down and look at the features that you can implement quickly that are really going to have the largest impact for you. And so we have a couple on this slide that, in talking to small firms and in the surveys that we send out annually, is what we're hearing. The first one is going to be cloud native. If you're using cloud services and cloud software, that means there's no installs, there's no manual updates, and not only that, but your team can work from anywhere. That means that you can work from anywhere, right? If you're a partner in your firm and you need to go home and you have an event that you need to be at, when you get home, you can log in and you can do your final review for those returns. You don't have to go back to the office. It'll save you commuting time. The next one is an intuitive UI. So why is this important? Mainly with small firms, they don't have the time or the resources to sit through trainings that can be hours, days, or weeks when they're adopting new technology. So when you have an intuitive user interface, which is what UI is, it's really going to cut down on the implementation, the onboarding, and most importantly, the training time for you and your preparers. And the more prepared that your staff is when adopting new technology, that's going to reduce errors within the future. So you really want to make sure that you're making that investment up front and you're adopting technology that your firm and your staff is going to be able to adopt seamlessly. Inclusive forms and built-in e-file tracking prevent hidden costs and status headache, right? We talked about the time that it takes you to actually look at the e-file status, communicate with your customers. These things that seem little for each return really add up as you're starting to scale your business. And a clear upgrade path really ensures that you can scale without replatforming. So what does replatforming mean? What we mean by this is when you're adopting technology, you're obviously going to look at it to solve for the issues that you have today. But when you're doing this analysis and you're doing this evaluation of your technology stack, you also want to take a step back and you want to think about the future of your firm and what your goals are. And when you know what your goals are, it's going to be easier for you to adopt new technologies that are going to be able to grow and scale if those are the goals of your firm, right? And then lastly, AI is not going anywhere. AI readiness really matters. It can be a scary thing. I understand. I was hesitant to adopt AI in the beginning too. But if you're choosing platforms that embed this intelligence where you work and they're trusted, it's going to be much easier for your firm to adopt that when you're using these trusted solutions. Something as simple as taking a small 3-person firm to a cloud-native platform can really eliminate downtime during a busy season. You don't have to update. You don't have to shut your computers down. You don't need to reinstall, right? It's not just about the updates. It's about all the other headaches that come along with it. And if you're using an on-prem solution, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So now that we've seen kind of core workflow and features, let's talk about growth. A lot of small firms are ripe for growth. And so these smarter workflows can really help you unlock things like advisory and drive higher client value. But before we get into that, we do have another polling question.
Okay, this is our third polling question. Remember, you need to answer at least 3 questions in order to qualify for CPE credit. There'll be one more after this. This question is, what's your firm's top growth priority for the next 12 months? And the answer options are adding new clients, expanding advisory services, improving the client experience, increasing efficiency and profitability, or the last option is other. So pick the one that's most closely aligned with where your plans are for the next year, and then click submit. It looks like we have a clear winner coming in the answer.
Overwhelmingly so. A very quick lead. If I was a betting person, I probably would have bet on this one too. But we're looking at well over 50% of you are looking to increase your efficiency and profitability. And so when you think about questions like this, or when you're posed questions like this, I want you to take a step back and think about what increasing efficiency and profitability really means for your firm, because it can mean many different things, right? Increasing profitability can be adding new clients. It can be adding additional services, right? It can be, phasing out clients like just 1040 work and bringing in more business returns and business advisory. And so when I talked on that last slide about the goals for the future, you really want to sit down and talk to your partners and talk to, your trusted colleagues in your firm and really put your goals down on paper. Talk about how that impacts you, how it impacts the business, and then mostly what's going to get you to your goal as quickly as possible. When you're looking at increasing efficiency and profitability, technology is going to be a leading indicator on being able to hit that goal.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, moving along. So let's talk a little bit about advisory. We have seen in the past that in a lot of firms, a tax return is not really the main driver for the relationship with your client. It is almost expected, right? And where we're seeing high growth potential in these firms is going to be with advisory work. So it can be a little bit scary if you're strictly a tax return preparation firm, which we have seen in small firms in the past. But it doesn't have to be scary, and it also doesn't have to be a separate engagement or a massive lift for your firm. The easiest way is to leverage technology and start embedding advisory into your daily practices and the workflow that you already have existing. So when you're able to identify planning opportunities just from the return data and act on them in real time, advisory becomes routine and not reactive, meaning you are able to advise your clients at the time you're in their return, being able to set them up for success in future years and notify them of changes that are going to impact them. So along with embedding these advisory tools, what we've really seen are these predictive alerts for legislation changes are a game changer, especially when we have these huge new bills. I'm sure that you are all deep into OBBBA at this point and getting ready in your tax season readiness for next year. I'm sure that your clients have a ton of questions. Leveraging things like predictive alerts are a real game changer. Instead of having to scan the tax news and then wondering what clients are impacted, the system flags them for you. And that doesn't mean just on a federal level. When you have an embedded predictive alert like IQ, they will go through state legislation changes, federal legislation changes, and sometimes even those Ohio cities, right? I'm sure those of you in that area know what I'm talking about. They're able to take those legislation changes and really dish up to you exactly who the clients are that are impacted, why they're impacted, and then serves you up content to be able to help them to set them up for success for this tax season and next tax season. You can also leverage things like standardizing client communications to make the outreach easy, meaning that if you have 15 to 20 clients that are impacted by some specific legislation, there's already a letter for you, right? You don't have to draft a letter from scratch every time. You can have the content teed up for you and it'll send it directly to those clients that are impacted. And then being able to track that follow through and next steps, what that really is going to do is create accountability in your firm and give you measurable value to your clients so that they understand why they're paying for these advisory services. It is such an interesting way to approach advisory and grow your business with tools that are super easy to adopt. So AI is powering almost all of these tools, right? Especially the predictive alerts. And it helps prioritize which clients to contact first, right? If you have a big bill that's come through and it impacts all of your clients, it's going to be able to tee up the top 5, 10 for you, right? Once again, it's going to support that natural language query. That was a tongue twister. For quick answers so that you can confidently advise them once again without leaving that return. So one example that we have of a firm leveraging these predictive alerts through IQ is that they were looking at OBBA and they were served up alerts within 48 hours of the law passing for all of their clients with energy credits. They were then able to proactively reach out to these clients, and that approach turns compliance into a revenue opportunity for them. And it really strengthened that client trust, right? No matter what your clients think, they don't go to you to prepare your tax return. They go to you for tax advice, and they go to you because you're a trusted advisor. And leveraging these tools can really help strengthen that within your clients. So let's see how this works in kind of real world scenario, which is all of our worlds right now, right? Navigating this new legislation. So when legislation drops, speed matters. We are served up content constantly. We get alerts on our watches, we get alerts on our phones, we get alerts on our email. They're all over. So when you hear something, your client hears it too. So they're expecting to hear from you just as quickly as they heard the news. So what's the first challenge? The first one is obviously knowing who's impacted and what to tell them. So an integrated AI-enabled workflow will solve for that with these predictive alerts. They flag all of the affected clients. The embedded research is going to provide that guidance for you, and the standardized templates are going to make outreach fast and consistent. So when OBBBA passed, firms using predictive alerts emailed clients that same day with personalized impact summary. They didn't have to write out that personalized impact summary. They leveraged AI to do that. And that's how you turn compliance into advisory without adding hours to your day. So let's talk now about how AI really fits into the bigger picture. We've talked about it kind of all afternoon here. And I think something scary about AI is that a lot of people think it's about replacing humans, and it's not. If you leverage AI right, it's about removing friction so that you can focus on your profession, on judgment, and on client relationships. Embedded research powered by AI means that you can ask questions in plain language. Predictive nudges help you identify outreach opportunities before that client picks up the phone and calls you. Automated data ingestion and validation reduce errors and speed up prep. And document intelligence ensures cleaner intake, so you start with better data faster. The key is AI embedded into your workflow, not as a separate tool. That's what makes it actionable and scalable for small firms. So we've covered how smarter workflows create capacity and unlock growth. Now let's really wrap it up with 5 actions that you can take this month to help you. Tax and accounting professionals don't have the insights that they need at the time they need to make them in the course of their day-to-day. Modern AI can really help firms drive revenue growth. It helps empower your staff and improve client services. With advanced technology, modern firms can more easily alert clients about relevant changes, generate natural language research summaries and client letters, and turn real-time analytics into actionable insights. Examples are AI Global Search summarizes results with the ability to refine further if needed. AI-powered intelligence alerts you of all affected clients. Firm-specific guidance. AI-enabled reports of clients with outstanding payments, and you can generate letters automatically. Once again, another automated process that can take up hours and sometimes days. Getting paid is still the most important thing. It also helps with client relationships. AI-powered engines generates client letters for missing documents and automates that process for not only you, but for your clients as well. It also helps you review all your clients suitable for any additional services. AI-powered engines can automatically generate lists of clients that can use additional services, like advisory. And then lastly, a schedule optimizer. You can use AI for predictive analytics to ensure project and budget goals are being met. It's going to recommend best fit staff based on the project details and staff availability and expertise. The role of AI in simplifying workflows, automating repetitive tasks, and uncovering actionable insights. It really is a game changer for all firms. You can generate insights, documents, and dashboards with existing data your firm already collects. You can grow with real-time reporting based on your firm's data and industry-wide standards. And you can optimize staff assignments and improve workload balance with AI-powered automation to help with your firm's goals. So what are these 5 actions to really help you finish stronger? If you do nothing else, I think the 2 most important are going to be number 2 and number 3. Automate intake, e-signature, and centralized data ingestion with tools like Scan and Autoflow. Those two steps alone can free up hours by giving you returns that are 70, 80% finished by the time you open them. Adding in K1 automation will reduce complexity on your pass-through returns. That can sometimes save hours just in one return, not even across your whole staff. Next, you want to make sure that you're enabling in-return research so that your team can get answers without leaving the workflow. This reduces review loops, it speeds up decision-making, and it gets rid of that swivel chair problem that we all have. And then finally, turn on real-time status tracking. You can stop chasing those e-file confirmations and client signatures. Once again, adding hours back into your day. AI-driven document intelligence and predictive alerts amplify these wins. They reduce manual checks, and they surface opportunities for you to grow your business with advisory services. So let's take a look at some resources to help you end 2025 ready to conquer on next tax season. We have a ton of resources and upcoming webinars. So if you like this type of content, it interests you, please scan these QR codes for more information, resources, and upcoming webinars specifically catered to small firms. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I hope we see you again soon. We have one more polling question and then some time for Q&A.
Okay, I'm going to go back and leave your QR codes on the screen here because the polling question will pop up in a separate window, Stephanie. So while you guys are looking at these QR options, here's our last polling question, which is what technologies would you like to learn more about? And you can select all the ones that you would like to hear more about. The options are assurance and engagement software, tax compliance software, cloud-based workflow automation, document management, and client collaboration tools, tax advisory, predictive intelligence software, research and learning solutions, or none. I don't want to hear about any of those. My firm has all the technology it needs. So you can hold down the control key and pick whatever options are interesting to you and then click submit. And while we're doing that, let's pull up some of these questions we have here. We have, let's see, a question came in. You were mentioning OCR technology or using AI for scanned data. Somebody asked for a little more clarification on what you meant by that. And also if the scanning process is strictly within CCH product or does this integrate with any other software?
Yeah, so specifically for the scan and autoflow product that I was talking about, that is a CCH product. And what is OCR and AI and how does that kind of fit into this? So basically you have W-2, you have any of your source documents. When you scan them into the program, we use OCR, which is character recognition and machine learning AI, to pull off all of the data on that source document and then populate it in the return where it needs to go. So we leverage AI and our trusted tax content team to map out where that data is going to go. So let's say, for instance, you have somebody that comes in and they have 4 W-2s. What it might only take you 5 minutes a W-2, but it reduces that time to nothing. It's a really great tool. It is probably my favorite one that we have. Most impressive for sure.
Okay. All right. Another question here. If you only have time to automate one thing, or even if you have time to automate more than one, where do you start? What's the biggest, what's going to save you the most time, or what's the order in which you should do things?
So I think that you have to look at the goals of your firm, but one thing I hear from firms of all sizes is going to be chasing the client for information. So if you're gonna automate anything, I'd like you to look at how you can automate your client collaboration, how you can automate sending your organizers out, receiving source documents, communicating with your customers, getting the status back to your customers. If you can automate all of those pieces along with e-signature, right, you're gonna save yourself a significant amount of time for each return that you process. It's one of the largest time-saving features.
Okay. Thank you, Stephanie. And we have some other questions that came in, but we also are at the top of the hour and need to have a hard stop. But Stephanie and her team will receive all of the questions that came in and can answer them by email. So if you're waiting on an answer, keep an eye on your email. Stephanie, thanks for an excellent presentation and sharing a lot of useful information with us. We want to thank all of you so much for attending today. And we also want to thank Walters Kluwer, Tax and Accounting, for making this event possible and for enabling us to offer a free CPE credit to everyone who is attending. As a reminder, you'll receive your CPE certificate in your email inbox later this afternoon. It'll come from CPA Practice Advisor. If you have any questions about CPE, you can contact me, Gail Perry, at gperry@cpapracticeadvisor.com. That's GPERRY at cpapracticeadvisor.com. And you can also send a message to me at that address if you have other people who are watching this with you at the same computer and who require CPE credit. You can send me their name and email address. Again, it's gperry@cpapracticeadvisor.com. We're going to present you with a post-event survey on your screen. Filling out the form is optional, but we sure hope you'll share your feedback with us so we can continue to improve our webinar series. Thank you again, everyone. Our audio will end now.